Magic.
Hello and welcome back to the New Old Furry Podcast. I'm Kit, and as always, today we have Rick with me.
How's it going, people?
And today we're going to be talking about pen and paper games, or as a lot of you will probably recognize them, Dungeons and Dragons.
We're gonna look into other things, and it's less the actual game system and more so the
I know, but it's what
issues.
what everybody recognizes as the quintessential pen and paper RPG. You say pen and paper, so some people are gonna look at you like, "What the fuck are you smoking?" Then you say D&D, and it's that okay.
Yes, D&D is what people recognize. You are correct. I personally go with TTRPG because it is the most accurate, and everybody understands what that means, right? Yeah, right.
All I can say is titty RPG. Also, with that said, I need to point out that these podcasts are not designed for minors.
We're getting faster about this.
We're getting faster about this, but that's only because we brought up titties. These are not necessarily meant for a younger audience. If you are a younger audience, please go away. We have other stuff on the channel for, a younger audience. This is not exactly it. So,
are you leading into something there, or did you just die?
No. I was hoping you had something to pick back up.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I could feel it. You gotta let me know when you're setting me up for something, man. You can't just go, so.
Either way, so, pen and paper RPGs. There are a lot of things that people do when playing these, or what have you, or don't do, or don't know that they can do, that tend to grate on people's nerves. And I say this having been both a GM for the last, I'd say, 15 years, as well as a player.
If you're still listening to this and you don't know what a GM is, this is not... This is not, here's your first pen and paper RPG. There's lots of resources online. Go watch those if you want to find out what these are. This is for the people who, yes,
piss us off.
And there are so many things. We're not even getting into specifics of game systems. This is just every table in the universe has to deal with this.
Every single one of them. One of the best ones that I fucking despise is metagaming. And for those of you who don't know, metagaming is when you use outside knowledge of the game inside the game. So let's say you as a person know that this other person has this skill, and this skill. Your character wouldn't necessarily know that they have those skills because they've never used them. And yet your character is telling them, hey, you can do that, right?
And that's an interesting point. Yes, you are correct. There's a certain level of metagaming that just, it is annoying, it breaks the game, it ruins immersion. But all tabletop games are meta games.
Yeah. I'm talking about going above and beyond with it.
Yeah. It happens. It happens a lot, and it happens for interesting reasons, sometimes not so interesting reasons. Sometimes it happens because a dude's just being a dick.
A little bit. Personally, the one that drives me absolutely fucking bonkers is that player that sits there and memorizes the bestiary for any game. And every time they come up against a new enemy, they're just like, oh, I remember this one. And comes up with some bullshit reason why they know that particular enemy has a aversion to fire.
See, that's kind of an issue because we live in a world without trolls. Trolls are the famous example of the trick monster of you have to hit them with fire.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anyone who's never fought a troll in an RPG setting.
You can kill them as many times as you want. They'll just get right the fuck back up until you burn them.
Yep. But we live in a world without trolls, and we still have stories about trolls. In a world where trolls actually exist, why the fuck wouldn't your character know a little nursery rhyme about using fire to kill them?
I know, but I'm talking about that guy that knows the weakness of every single creature, whether he's come up against it or not.
Oh, I completely understand that, but then there's the question of why are you the game master not responding to that player by tweaking your monsters?
I personally usually do.
It sounds almost like the hell's the term? Victim shaming, yelling at the GM for, well, why aren't you doing this to counter this type of play?
A little bit.
It's I'm going to go ahead and argue of if you're playing a game with someone, you shouldn't have the bestiary unless you're the game master.
A little bit.
Any knowledge you have outside of the game, it shouldn't be affecting your character's thought process inside the game unless you have a reason to. And it's not hard to role play out a reason to know this thing. And if you don't know it, it is an obnoxious thing to get at because you have to immerse yourself in the world. You have to be willing to let your character make stupid decisions because they don't understand the trick to this thing. Meanwhile, you, the player, are sitting there, no, we just have to hit it with fire or lightning or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're playing at a game that I'm GMing and all you want is the power fantasy, let me know ahead of time. I'll set you up with a power fantasy. I'll make you feel like the strongest motherfucker in the whole wide world.
Yep.
Don't come to my table every time and act as though the only purpose of the game is to be the best at the game. That
kind of leads me into another gripe of mine, and that's min-maxing. I can understand it to a certain degree in some cases. Like if your character is meant to be highly specialized. Like, for example, you are a... fucking... God, what is the word? It's a very specific type of psionic. They're squishy as shit, but they're essentially glass cannon.
That wouldn't be mystic, would it?
I believe it is. It's one that the way they fight, they don't throw a punch, they don't sit there and, throw blasts of any kind. No, they just get into your brain and melt you.
It's anyone who has ever played any tabletop role-playing game with psionics that also has a separate magic system understands psionics is a weird half-measure magic light sort of thing that's quite often broken as shit.
Oh god, yeah. It's telekinesis gone to a really fucked up degree.
I've let a player play a psionicist before, and it was broken as shit. It was I when I was throwing challenges at the party, I was either challenging him or ignoring him, and then I found out, hey, if I have a flying little weak goblinoid thing that stays 30 feet away from him, because that was the range he could attack at the time,
yep,
and flies directly above him 30 feet and just drops a rock on him.
That's a dick thing to do, but it works.
I almost one-shot him.
Yeah, no, psionics are remarkably fucking squishy, but if you come anywhere within their range, you're gone. That's what they're designed to be. They're anti-up close, but if you can hit them with an arrow...
Yeah.
I remember that because my level, fucking 15 or so psionic had only, 22 health.
Yeah, that's about right. Oh, Jesus. You gave away how old of a system you were playing in there, friend.
God. I didn't really. because one, psionics in the system I was playing in, yeah, little older than usual. The psionic was the weakest class, gaining very
Level.
little health per level, and it was entirely based on roll. So every time you leveled up, you rolled a die to see how much health you got, and I had bad luck back then. Four of his levels, I legitimately rolled a one.
It's yeah, that'll happen. And it's one of those it is entirely one of those things where homebrew rules try and fix that
Yeah.
horrific thing
Well, that's the
because there's
thing. I actually liked that because it meant I was legitimately squishy as hell. If somebody came up on me and, got to me before I could stop them, I was dead. That's actually how I died. Uh, Dude that we didn't know was an enemy that somehow I could not read his fucking mind just up and jammed a dagger into my guts.
all right. Well, you brought it up, so we'll go ahead and jump into that. Uh, Character death.
Oh, yeah, no, that's another good topic. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Am I the player or the GM in this situation?
Uh, let's go at it from both. We'll do player first.
If I am playing a game and my character dies, depending on how they die, if they die in an epic combat and it's, a
It's a
good
death worth
story beat,
being proud of.
exactly. I'm happy about that death. If my character gets killed by giant goblinoid number 367 because I failed to think tactically enough, or I put faith in another player, or I just made a mistake, or the dice just went against me, I'm not going to be happy about that character death, but it's going to be one of those, I could have done something different. I could have changed something, and I didn't, so it's on me.
Mister, I could have healed myself.
I could have. For those of you listening, yeah, I recently had a character death, and it sucked. I liked my character, but I could have healed myself, and I didn't because long list of reasons, and I felt I would be better suited killing the werewolf standing next to me and preparing to attack the bugbear that was going to charge me.
I mean, good reason. But yeah,
Mistakes were
no.
made.
Uh, I can understand somebody being upset to the point of wanting to, flip out if their character dies because the GM is being a prick.
That's
But a character death that feels like it's to a degree deserved, something like falling in combat or fucking dying for the sake of saving your friends, or hell, even just dying to a shitty trap. I've seen moments, I've been the GM for moments, where somebody thought their character was unbelievably overpowered to the point where they didn't really need to worry about anything, and a single trap took them out as well as their entire party because they were overconfident.
yeah, that'll happen, and there's D&D modules that are entirely designed to be that way, where it's save or die. You you make your roll or your character is dead.
Yep.
It's called a meat grinder.
That's the funny thing is the one I'm talking about wasn't intended to be a meat grinder. It was a very
No,
easy puzzle if you had rolled to detect traps. If you had thought, hey, let's actually look for a trap, it was a very easy trap to spot. No one rolled to detect traps. Not a single person. And then the rogue, who's literally was min-maxed for stealth and trap detection and disarmament, instead of
he did it.
checking for traps, just strolled right into the corridor and boom, roof collapses
Oh,
in on him and his team.
that's hilarious.
It is because it was a moment of he should have known better. He
Yep.
was geared out to stop what I was throwing at them. I expected him to check for it.
Now, sticking real quick with the character death from the player's perspective before we jump into the other side of it.
Yeah.
The one thing that annoys me about this is when other people inform you that you don't feel bad enough for your character's
Oh
death.
God, yeah.
Uh, I'm sorry, I've been playing these fucking games for the last, Jesus, 20 years.
Just about, yeah.
I understand that characters die. My first game ever with my brother being my DM in second edition D&D, we couldn't get past the first encounter with how often we were getting killed.
Yeah. Player death is a thing. It's not a happy thing, but it happens. Or player death, character death.
Well, player death is a thing too, but
Player
that
death
takes
is a
much
thing.
longer.
That takes much longer, and it's sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I actually remember a group where all of a sudden one of the guys just stopped coming, and we didn't know why until like 3 weeks later when we found out that he had died in a car crash. And it's
No,
one of
that's unfortunate.
those. Well, fuck. We were all kind of pissed before we figured out what had happened. We were all kind of pissed because he just stopped showing up because he was the group's cleric.
Healer's down. Need a res. Out of mana.
A little bit.
That's terrible of me to say. I am terribly sorry for the loss, and
Well, yeah. Again, this
but
happened like a decade ago, though, so.
yeah, that's fair.
It was interesting how we approached it in game because it was one of those. We found a way to remove his character from the story in a way that didn't just flat out kill his character. This was also a guy who had been playing D&D since he was like 11 or 12 years old. He died at age 40. So,
Damn.
he'd been a part of that group for longer than I had been alive. Let's put it that way. So it's understandable. They essentially made it. He became an avatar of his god, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good end of a uh, cleric's life.
Yep. But anyways, probably going into from the GM's perspective, character death can be a really annoying thing. Not just for the players, but for the GM, because we're the ones that gotta sit there and go, yes, your character's dead. No, there's no way to resurrect them. No, you can't have that equipment on your next character.
Oh, that's the you just hit the nail on the head for the ooh, this is a weird
It's
one
a
to dive
very
into.
common one too. Is well, I worked so hard for all of the shit that was on my character. Can I just have this one item? That one item is an amulet that gives you 15 extra strength.
That no, I will not let you start your next character with the rod of 7 parts on your person.
Fucking hell. It's one of the most common things too, because a lot of GMs, if your character dies, if they were super powerful, will let you roll up a couple extra levels above what you normally would, because, I mean, it'll unbalance the game otherwise.
Yes, it even at relatively low levels, my character that died recently was level 4. All right, what level's the new character going to be at? Level 4. You know, keep everything balanced. All right,
Sorry,
what?
by the way, about the chiming sound. Somebody apparently just decided to start messaging me on Discord.
Wonderful. Uh, what magic items do I get? Like what's my starting gold to determine what equipment I have? Well, standard starting is this amount plus this amount for each level. So you're at this amount, and I'll go ahead and give you an extra 50 gold or whatever it was to pick out random equipment. Cool. Picked out all my equipment. All right, how's about magic items? Do I have any? Would I have any? You get a single magic item of this level, and he broke it down, and it was very well done. Of about the level of stuff that my character would have, and it made it so my character is still useful in combat, not unlike the other characters who've been playing for the last 6, 8, 10 months. I don't know how long we've been going in this campaign, uh, where they've been slowly building up equipment and buying magic items and getting everything set up for their characters, my character is still incredibly useful. My
Yeah.
character is also a complete and total dickbag, but that's
Has
more
anyone
so the
seen a
player
bag of
bleeding through.
dicks? Sorry, quote from Big Mouths there. Has anyone seen a bag of dicks? But yeah, no. Another thing though that bugs the shit out of me is when it comes to player death character death. As the GM, the other side of that coin is it is a pain in the ass to have to kill someone's character. And you know that it is your decision that leads to that. But here's the thing. A good GM needs to get the fuck over that, because without character death, without the possibility of it, the game isn't fun. There is no, risk at that point.
Well, it comes down to your table. It comes down to the players. These are all conversations you need to have well in advance.
Oh yeah.
If you're playing a meat grinder game, you need to be upfront about it in the beginning of, hey guys, this is the style of game I play. This is the level of difficulty it's going to be. Your characters may die horribly many times over. Have a couple of backup ones on hand.
Yeah. And that's
At the
actually
same
a good
time.
idea regardless. Have a backup character.
See, I never do. I never have a backup character already ready to go. But as I said earlier,
usually
I've
have
also
base
been
content.
playing for about 20 years. I have the ideas of characters rattling around all the time, and
Yeah.
I can make a character really fucking quick.
Oh, it's for if you've been playing for a while, you can create a character concept at the drop of a fucking hat. Good example, I could right now roll up a character from the old D&D game I played as a sorcerer specifically focused on decay.
Ah,
I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but it's kind of like a necromancer without the raising the dead aspect. It's just you make everything wither and rot.
well, one of these days I will play my one-legged monk swashbuckling pirate.
God damn it.
It was a concept I came up with. I don't know why I didn't do the one-legged thing on my current character, because monks get an ability that allows them to move through terrain as though it is regular terrain, whether or not it is difficult.
And doing
And
that one-legged would still be a thing. It'd be
I
an
asked the
amusing thing.
I asked the DM if I was one-legged, would that make all terrain difficult for me? Well, yeah, but with this monk ability, I'd be able to move normally. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing that makes me twitch just a little bit is when players do that. I found a clever way to be a dick.
It's just another way of min-maxing.
Yeah.
It's
When you min-max a character, when you're clever about it, golden. It's good. It's still a way to min-max. It's still a way for the character to be a dick. But at the same time, it's clever. It's something people don't usually think about. The min-maxing that I dislike is when somebody goes, well, I'm gonna be a magic user. Fuck all of these stats. Every single one of them is going to be a dump stat.
the true min-max.
To this. So
Yeah.
that I can just go and kill everything with one fucking magic missile.
Yeah, it's.
That's the min-maxing I don't like.
I'm right there with you. Look, I understand you want to play the game and you want to play the game tactically, and as such, you have to make your character in such a way. That's not how I like to play the game.
Learn to rely on teammates, because I had a dude at one point in one game, and it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons, it was actually Vampire the Masquerade, who had designed his character in a way that he couldn't fight physically for shit. could not take a blow, but no one could ever get close enough to him because he had thaumaturgy and auspex, which was, if somebody got close enough to him, he'd blind them, make them see ghosts from their past, walk away to what he felt was a proper distance, and then would open up a gate to hell beneath them and kill them using hellfire.
All you got to do is get in and hit him.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody ever could. One of the Auspex mastery abilities is Oversight, which is the ability to... It essentially makes it to where no one can sneak up on you. And the dude would cast it every chance he got.
That happens to be one of the ones I'm not familiar with the system, so...
Yeah. Let's put it this
way.
Imagine, I believe D&D is this is one of the abilities I ripped from D&D, but Danger Sense.
Yeah.
Imagine that that being on a maxed out stat, active 24/7, so nothing could ever sneak up on you.
No, I understand how he has the character set up. I'm just saying I'm not familiar with the system.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is some weird build specifically designed to counter that.
Oh, there is, but the problem is it's not a build, it's a werewolf.
And
it's
that'll do
an NPC. And that's only because a certain type of werewolf can resist Auspex, and thaumaturgy will fuck them up, but they can tank it. You need to hit them with 2 or 3 different pillars of hellfire to kill them if they're a very specific type of werewolf.
See, and here we are talking about specific game mechanics when we started this off, saying we're not going to get into specific game mechanics. Here, let's talk about specific game mechanics for the next half hour.
Well, no, this isn't so much specific game mechanics. This is me going off on a tangent on a game mechanic that pisses me off a little. However, sticking away from game mechanics, and you did say this isn't Baby's first D&D, or this isn't Baby's first tabletop, but one of the things that I've got to bring up is new players. Every table has them. Every table's gonna have them.
Every table's gonna have them. It goes back to the fact of, as we were saying at the beginning, we're going to call this D&D, but that doesn't mean that every tabletop game is the same.
Oh, hell no.
Especially even just D&D. If you're playing first edition D&D, that plays different from second edition D&D, which plays much different from third edition, which plays different from 3.5. Then there's fourth edition, which is just a video game.
We're not going to talk about fourth edition. Fourth edition doesn't exist.
Everyone hates on it, and it did nothing wrong.
It did nothing wrong except turn the game into a fucking video game.
Yes, but it did it because that's what the people were asking for. And then when they did it, the people got pissed.
It is and it's literally one of those things. It's another thing about new players that drives me nuts. It was literally a case of the people were asking for it. They were telling you, this is what we want you to do. And then when you did it, well, why the fuck did you do it?
Yeah. We didn't think you'd actually do it.
I actually had a moment like that about, God, what was it? It was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was right after, right before you joined in our, in the campaign that you turned into essentially a god.
Yeah.
Then again, there was a campaign that was meant to turn everybody in the campaign into a sort of god. But no, sorry, my brain died.
Yeah, I kind of had the exact same moment of brain just go. Boop.
What got me onto that tangent?
New players shortly before I joined. I'm not sure where you were going with it.
Why? This is like the 5th fucking announcement from your Discord.
Huh?
There's another doody from Omnom's server.
Oh.
I don't remember where the fuck I was going with that. But no, one of the issues with new players, one of the things that kind of gets to me is and I know I've kind of mentioned it a little before. New players, another issue that they have is D&D, tabletop games, they are primarily a team-based thing. There are
My
other players
favorite
there with you.
my favorite way of describing D&D is collaborative storytelling.
Mm-hmm. The problem with this is, when you have somebody who wants to be the main focus of the game, it gets weird.
Yeah, it's
In a game like D&D or any tabletop game, there is no main character.
at the
Wanting
very
to
least there
be the
shouldn't be.
main character, it's going to ruin somebody else's day if you're the one that's being focused on 24/7.
That would be correct. This isn't to say that, you never get the spotlight.
Yeah,
No, it's
a good DM.
everybody should get their time to be in the spotlight, to do their special thing, to be the chosen one of this people somewhere for some reason.
A good GM will make sure that every character has their time to shine. But in doing so, it means that certain characters will inevitably have to take a back seat for a while.
Yeah. And the new player thing is the problem with bringing new players into tabletop role-playing games is most new players equate D&D to the video game.
Where they are literally the main character.
Yeah. And it's one of those, that's not really what you should be, and that shouldn't be how you're viewing this. This is a collaborative storytelling thing. You have to be willing to take the back seat. You do not get to control everything.
Precisely.
On top of which, it's a game of chance. You're rolling the dice, literally.
Quite literally. And that's the other thing is people don't... I have had games where people have rolled badly and asked, can I have a mulligan? Well, why? Because I'm gonna die if I don't get it? Roll versus death, bitch!
It's save or die.
Thing. And I by no means create meat grinder campaigns. I design all of my campaigns. And for those who don't know, I've been a DM or a GM, Dungeon Master or Game Master, for, like I said, 15 years just about. I do not intentionally design a thing that is impossible to beat or impossible to get out of. I make convoluted as fuck traps.
I can attest to this.
Very much so. But everything that I create, there is a way to get through it without ever having any issue. And by the way, the ones that you've been through, like the Halls of the Blind, those were very much in my younger days when I created those. I don't use them as much anymore.
No, unless you happen to have someone who's been through it before, at which point you're like, all right, I'm going to throw this at you. You don't get to use your meta knowledge. Let's see how well you can roleplay this, bitch. Son of a bitch, you asshole. I know what I have to do. I know where the secrets are.
I'm not allowed to use that knowledge. How did I figure this out in the first place? Oh, that's how. I lost an eye.
He has a habit of making traps that have a very specific way of getting through them. I have a habit of figuring out ways to fuck with his traps in ways he didn't account for.
And that is something I actually look for when I am a GM. I look for players who can fuck with my plans in ways that I never thought they could. Because to me, for me as a GM, seeing my own plans to fuck with the group or to make it challenging, when somebody fucks with that, it adds a bit of difficulty to my experience. And it makes it more fun because it gives me the realization that I may need to up my game for this one. I may need to tweak something because it may be getting too easy.
That is actually an excellent point that I feel doesn't get brought up enough. The DM, GM, whatever they are called in that particular game, they're a player too, guys. They don't happen to have a character that they get to play because they get to play every other
Ah,
character.
I was just gonna say, no. The GM doesn't have a character. The GM is every NPC, is every monster, is every building, every stone, every tree.
It's
Their character is the world around you.
yeah, and it's a lot of people. I going back to the new players again seem to have the biggest issue with it, but I've seen veteran players do the same thing where they expect the DM to either have the answer at the drop of a hat or be the one in charge of everything and be the one to control the other players.
Yeah,
It,
that's another thing is GM intervention. I do not understand why players will go, well, he's going to try to kill me. You got to stop him. I don't have to do shit. In fact, I could very easily assist him in that. Which, I kid you not, when a player asks me to, as the GM, step in with divine intervention or GM intervention to save their character, I'm more inclined to kill their character.
I mean, it table to table, situation to situation, it changes because sometimes it's it's a legit. It's not them asking the DM to, hey, divine intervention this shit and make it so that my character survives. It's I've been doing all this shit. Are you telling me the gods of this world have not been looking down and smiling upon me enough to give me this chance to save my character?
I mean, if it were give me a chance to save my character, I'm okay with that. No, I'm talking about the kind of person that goes, well, I've done this, this, and this, and now they're trying to kill me. You have to stop them. Why? Because they're trying to kill me. Technically, you deserve it, so why?
Well, that once again, that is a conversation that needs to happen at early on at the table
Yep.
of is PvP allowed? Is that something that the players are going to have to deal with of yeah, not only do I have to deal with the DM trying to kill me with their world, but I have to worry about this motherfucker who's adventuring with me stabbing me in the back.
Yeah. Which, in the weekly game that I run at the moment, we've had a couple players kill each other. And realistically, it's never a fun thing. PvP is never really a fun thing, especially when it is in a situation where the player that we have that has killed somebody did it in a way that there was almost no way to save the other player. They were clever in what they did. They poisoned. And it was just one of those poison their drink, inform the GM, don't inform anybody else. Okay? Couple minutes later, well, why is my character puking out his guts? Literally.
That is entirely one of those group to group, situation to situation.
Yep. I always run with the concept of if you're going to kill a player. If you're going to play a killer, you're going to have a hard time. If you're going to kill a player, I usually will step in out of game, out of character, and ask, what's your reason for doing this? If it is a stupid reason, I may tweak something to make it harder for you to do. But at the same time, I'm not going to flat out say you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, I could see that. It's out of game, out of character entirely. All right, why are you doing this? Because it's what my character would do. Why would your character do that?
Exactly. If there's a reason for you to be doing what you're doing, even if it is just my character is a fucking psychopath, I'm good. If you have a reason to be doing what you're doing, go for it. But too often I hear, well, this player was an asshole last game, so I'm going to kill his character.
Yeah, at that point, it's one of those,
At
all right,
that
you
point,
two need to step over there and have a conversation out of
Yep.
game.
Well, that's the thing, is I will at that point tweak it so that it's almost impossible for that player to kill the person they want. and then I will flat out announce this person is trying to kill this person for this reason. You motherfuckers need to go off and talk.
Yeah.
Figure out what the hell this issue is. Don't bring outside influence to the fucking table.
Yeah, I can support that.
I'm sorry, you went Skynet to hell. What was that?
That's strange.
What's up?
That's what I just said. That's strange because for some reason Discord voice can.
Well, Discord voice. I take it your connection is going fucky.
Yes.
Okay. Unplug and plug back in? I'm assuming that's what that pop earlier was.
Yes.
And it seems to have worked a little bit.
It's not the headset that... I don't know what I touched, but something...
Going
there
back
we go.
to an old
How do I
podcast,
sound now?
apparently technology fucking sucks for us.
Technology wants me dead.
A little bit.
I beat it into enslavement and force it to keep me alive.
But anyways, but yeah, no, player killing in games it's a fun concept. It's a fun idea if somebody in game slights you to have a reason to just go, you know what, I have a dagger and you have a throat. But
yeah,
it has to be, in my opinion, it has to be a reason for your character, not for you. If your reason is based on anything out of character or anything that is based on what you think and not what your character thinks or what your character would do, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, I 100% agree. As a GM, if you have a player who's trying to kill another player in game, it's a conversation to be had.
A little bit. Last topic switch, at least for the amount of time we've got, and we've covered what have we covered? We've covered new players, we've covered player killing, we've covered
character death.
I want to cover a note to anyone who may be getting into the scene as a GM for the first time.
Ooh, yeah. New players are one thing. New DMs are quite another.
Understand that a lot of DMs will say, "Well, my purpose is to kill every." No, it's fucking not. Your purpose is to create a story with the players. You are the antagonist, yes. Your entire purpose is not, well, I'm going to kill everyone. Because as GM, you can literally just say, well, a boulder drops on your head. Squish!
Rocks fall, everyone dies. But I would like to pause right quick because you said that you described the GM as the antagonist. That's true and not, because the GM is both the antagonist and the allies and the friends. And
yeah. Well, you're the antagonist in the sense that you're the one that typically controls the guy that everybody is going to want to, shove a spear in his asshole. But you're right. You're not just the antagonist. You're the antagonist, you're the allies, you are the simple person that sells you a sword. You are everything and everyone. Your purpose there is to create a world that these people can live in and that helps them to create a story. If you want to play a meat grinder style game, first of all, as a GM, you're not going to be well liked, and you're not going to have players coming back to your game. Not many players enjoy the idea of, well, let's see how many times I can play this character before it dies horrifically.
It comes down to, first and foremost, if you want to do a meat grinder style game, don't do it when you're still a new GM.
Oh God, no. There are too many things to balance.
Yeah, because it is a very fine line between being difficult puzzles and high lethality and just saying rocks fall, everyone dies.
Yeah.
Don't do it as a new GM. Run small little adventures, figure out how to balance things, figure out what your group is like, because 9 times out of 10, a meat grinder is a meat grinder because the puzzles are difficult.
Remarkably difficult.
So it unless you have a very specific style of player, they will make a mistake and wind up dying. That's
Yeah.
how a meat grinder goes.
Meat grinder is meant to be, you make a mistake, that mistake can be lethal, and more often than not is. It's not supposed to be, well, your characters have entered my domain. I'm going to kill you.
Unless you're playing Tomb of Annihilation, but that's...
God damn it. That's a completely different story, and that is never something a new GM should ever try to take on.
That is
God.
That is entirely like the worst setup for a new GM to try. You got a hex crawl sandbox, meat grinder where you remove the resurrection mechanics. Oh, it's
welcome to Ancient Sumerian for newbies.
Yeah, it's mean. It's mean.
My point is, you mentioned a hex crawl sandbox, and 99% of people will not know what the fuck you just said. Either way, though, the other thing I wanted to point out is, well, you don't want to create a system in which all the characters are going to die. It's a guaranteed, everyone shall perish. No. You also don't want to make a system in which death doesn't feel like it's possible. Because at that point, it's you're playing as a superhero, and it gets boring after a while. And trust me, I know this. I've played too many games where the GM was afraid to kill a character. Don't be afraid to kill a character. It's going to be a difficult thing for you and the player to deal with. Guaranteed. But understand that character death is something that needs to happen on some occasion. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a game where no one can ever be hurt.
It's 5th edition is my preferred edition of D&D, and it has a big glaring hole in it in that above 5th level, it's damn near impossible to kill a character.
Very much so. 5th edition is where if you are a GM, you need to have been a GM for a while, and you need to know how, without being a dick, to make the game difficult enough that your level 6 gods will have a tough time. Because 5th edition, you become very
first and foremost, thanks for calling every 5th edition DM a eunuch.
Oh, I corrected myself, bitch.
I know you did, but I need to give you shit. But at the same time, there is a way to play, especially 5th edition and other editions, in such a way that you make it more deadly.
Yep.
But it's more work on the GM's part to do so.
Yeah.
On top of which, let's be honest, when you were first getting into GMing, what level did your party get up to?
Do we want to go with the very first campaign I ever ran?
Very first.
2.
Yep.
It wasn't necessarily just because of me either, because I GM'd for the first time with a group of friends. No one had ever played the game, and I studied. I knew what I was capable of as a GM, and this group had 3 wizards and a knight.
I mean...
They had no healing. The knight had 1 use of lay on hands. It was 2nd edition.
Yep.
Which
the fact that you refer to him as a knight.
2nd edition. You don't want to go without a healer. Because it's one of my favorite ones, because you start off with like 7 health. If you get hit by more than one thing, you're going down. And the only thing that has any chance of saving your ass is a healer. Knight has lay on hands, but it's going to give you back maybe 1 or 2 health. That goblin is just going to deck out of you with a club the very next round.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Especially since lay on hands in fucking D&D version 2 was level scaled, meaning at level 1 it was 1 or 2 health. At level 6, which was nearing the max level, you could about quarter heal yourself or somebody else. Well, technically you couldn't quarter heal yourself because lay on hands only works on others.
Yeah, my first group that I DM'd for, I think we got up to level 3.
Yeah. Well, this group also only got up to level 2 because the wizards didn't realize that they need to memorize their spells.
Hey, here's the rules for D&D. By the way, if you want to play a magic user, here's these other rules you need to try and memorize. Good fucking luck.
Magic users are not a easy early game. Don't start with a magic user.
To the new players, don't start with magic. Magic can be fun. It can be a rewarding experience to play through.
Oh god, yeah.
Don't start with it. And this isn't me saying, "Oh, you're not smart enough for." No, you're learning the basics of the game. Start with the basic classes of fighters or barbarians, or if you want to dip into magic, rangers or rogues.
Kind of like in my game where it's everyone and their mother goes after the 2 magic types in my game without realizing that they're playing hard mode doing that. Yes, you can do incredibly powerful things, but at the same time, if you don't know how to use it or how that type of magic works, you're going to be the type of person that's just sitting there going, okay, I'm going to throw a fireball. At what enemy? No, at the door. Why? To break it. There are much easier
Fireball
ways
doesn't
to open that door. Why
Fireball doesn't do explosive damage.
No, it doesn't. It's an incendiary. It's an incendiary, not an explosive.
You're hurling napalm. You're not hurling C4.
Exactly. And the downside is the world I created. I run a game based off of the world that I created for a book series. In that world, yes, magic is beyond overpowered. But this is also because it's set in a world where any and every character, regardless of what they have, can, to a degree, become pretty much superhuman, whether they have magic or not. People just find magic to be the easiest way to go and reach that point. But they're reaching that point with just the basic understanding of magic, and it turns them into a murder hobo. Which, by the way, don't be a murder hobo.
We could have had a nice 15-minute portion on just murder hobos.
I mean, we could have.
Oh, yeah. For the record, anyone who's unaware of what the term is, murder hobo is literally what it sounds like. You move from place to place, never planting down roots, and you kill everything you come across.
Pretty much. It's my favorite way to describe a murder hobo is you've got a rogue and archer, or not a rogue. You've got an assassin, an archer, a warrior, and a cleric, all walking into an orphanage. The warrior, the cleric, and the archer, you guys all know that something's wrong, but you don't know what. The assassin decides to start wading through corpses until they find out what's wrong. Assassin's the murder hobo. I've had so many situations where people could have rolled search or intuition or rolled for something or just asked the NPC that was next to them, is there anything wrong? Is something going on here that there shouldn't? And one person just starts killing and it turns out very badly. Don't be a murder hobo.
Don't be a murder hobo. I mean, if you
want to play that way, go play a video game, please. Don't be a murder hobo. Because 10 times out of 10, you're going to piss off the other players.
Or go back to 2nd edition.
Oh god, yeah. No, 2nd edition murder hobo all the way.
It was for it. It was entirely designed to be played by murder hobos. They gave stats for the random farmer you meet, tells you how many copper pieces he keeps on his person and where he hides them in his house.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's entirely meant to be played by murder hobos.
Then again, you could also argue that 4th edition is for murder hobos as well.
Oh,
Like I said, if you want to be a murder hobo, go play a video game.
Yeah,
Fourth edition's a video game.
yeah.
Anyways, this is probably where we're going to leave off on this one. So, it has been a really weird time talking. This is probably a topic we'll come back to at some point. But for now, I'd say let's end it here, because if not, we're going to turn this into an hour and 90-minute fucking recording.
An hour and 90 minute, huh?
Yes, because we can break the clock.
All right. Real quick, closing thoughts. Number one, character death. Be aware of what kind of game you're playing, whether you're the GM or the player. Make sure you communicate. Yep, same thing for player killing. Respect the other people at your table. Remember that the DM is also a player. They are there to have fun as well. They are not the one who has to solve everything.
I want to put one more thing into that on GM issues. As a player, don't fucking try to sit there and rules lawyer a DM. It never ends well.
If the DM asks for, like, legitimately outright says, hey, what's the rule regarding this? If you know exactly where it is and you can pull it up, go for it. They asked you to. That's fine.
But if they've made a statement, made a choice for the group, or made a choice on an outcome, and you try to sit there and go, well, the rules say you can't do this. GM is God. 10-1, even an older GM is going to slate the game against you if you do this consistently. I know GMs that will just flat out go, and your character just died to an arrow that came out of nowhere and hit you square in the eye.
If you are consistently arguing with your GM, you're at the wrong table.
Yes.
Know your group, know your table, talk to them ahead of time, get to know what kind of game they play. Don't be a dick.
Very much don't be a dick. Anyways, I guess that's it. So, as always, this has been Kit and Rick. So until next time, everybody, bye-bye.
Doodles.